Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in what we give, and what we preserve. We shall nobly save, or meanly lose, the last best hope of earth. No man is good enough to govern another man, without that other's consent. I say this is the leading principle, the sheet anchor of American republicanism. You think slavery is right and should be extended, while we think slavery is wrong and ought to be restricted. That, I suppose, is the rub. It certainly is the only substantial difference between us. This is a world of compensations, and he who would be no slave, must consent to have no slave. Those who deny freedom to others, deserve it not for themselves, and, under a just God, cannot long retain it. As I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master. This expresses my idea of democracy. I leave you, hoping that the lamp of liberty will burn in your bosoms until there shall no longer be a doubt that all men are created free and equal. The one victory we can ever call complete will be that one which proclaims that there is not one slave or one drunkard on the face of God's green earth. All I ask for the Negro is that if you do not like him, let him alone. If God gave him but little, that little let him enjoy. Let us remember that all American citizens are brothers of a common country, and should dwell together in the bonds of fraternal feeling. If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. I want it said of me by those who knew me best, that I always plucked a thistle and planted a flower where I thought a flower would grow. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Be with a leader when he is right, stay with him when he is still right, but leave him when he is wrong. You cannot help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. When I'm getting ready to reason with a man, I spend 1/3 of my time thinking about myself and what I am going to say, and 2/3 thinking about him and what he is going to say. My concern is not whether God is on our side, my greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right. Public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail, without it nothing can succeed. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. I happen temporarily to occupy this big white house. I am living witness that any one of your children may look to come here as my father's child has. I have always found that mercy bears richer fruits than strict justice. I desire to so conduct the affairs of the administration that if, at the end, when I come to lay down the reins of power, I have lost every other friend on earth, I shall have at least one friend left, and that friend shall be down inside of me. The legitimate object of government is to do for the people what needs to be done, but which they cannot, by individual effort, for at all, or do so well, for themselves. Elections belong to the people. It's their decision. If they decide to turn their back on the fire and burn their behinds, then they will just have to sit on their blisters. You cannot build character and courage by taking away people's initiative and independence. Books serve to show a man that those original thoughts of his aren't very new after all. Education does not mean teaching people what they do not know. It means teaching them to behave as they do not behave. My mind is like a piece of steel, very hard to scratch anything on it and almost impossible after you get it there to rub it out. A capacity, and taste, for reading, gives access to whatever has already been discovered by others. My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure. I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts, and beer. I do not think much of a man who is not wiser today than he was yesterday. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am not bound to succeed, but I am bound to live up to what light I have. The probability that we may fall in the struggle ought not to deter us from the support of a cause we believe to be just. It shall not deter me. If you would win a man to your cause, first convince him that you are his sincere friend.